Hello, and welcome to Chaos to Clarity, the podcast that's your compass to navigate the exciting world of service-based businesses. If you're a determined woman in your current business adventure, striving to conquer the chaos and build your empire, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Maggie, your go-to business bestie and chaos navigator. I've spent nearly 2 decades in the service-based industry, building a photography business, a yoga studio, and now a thriving coaching practice. I've cracked the code to consistent income without all the chaos and noise. So get ready to increase your business growth, connect with your ideal clients, and find ease in both business and in life. It's time to turn your frustrations into inspiration and your chaos into clarity. So go ahead and grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and let's dive into the journey of building your dream service-based business together. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to season 2 of the Chaos to Clarity podcast. I am so excited. Today, I have Nicole Gomez here. She is so amazing. I'm going to let her take it away. So, Nicole, please share with us who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Of course. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Maggie, for having me on. It's such a pleasure to have a conversation with you. So I am a nervous system and business mentor for entrepreneurs, business owners, online coaches. And essentially, I help my clients rewire their brain, rewire their nervous system, because it has to work concurrently to step into their next level of income and step into their next level of leadership with and grow the wildly profitable business that they want to grow, but with ease. Like, ease is such a huge word for me, and with abundance. And I'm all about redefining what abundance is, redefining what wealth is. And so what drives me, what kind of lights my heart on fire is to help entrepreneurs create the impact that they want to create, because ultimately it's not about what you're making, and our brain, our subconscious will want to make it this way, but it's not about what your income this month or the income next month. It's really about that bigger picture. And it's when you focus on that bigger picture and you focus on really working through it and moving and navigating your way through your business and your life with ease, with that effortlessness, that then the money and the income, it becomes that byproduct. When you move from that place of freedom, a place of alignment, the byproduct becomes the income. So I love what I do, because we work through relationship with money. Our relationship with money is deeply intertwined with our relationship with ourselves. And when we strip away those layers, and we must work with when we're working with the subconscious. I'm a subconscious expert, a nervous system expert, a trauma expert, is we need to work through them together and integrate all three, so that to create the results that we want to create. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that so much. And I'm sure over the years you have just seen so much in your business. And I'm curious, for you, as you were starting your business, I know a lot of people, there's kind of a couple different, I guess, areas that people are in when they're listening to my podcast. Quite a few are just starting, and quite a few are also in that messy middle. So I'm curious, when you first started your business, what were some of the things that you did to, I guess, work through some of your own traumas, your own mindsets, like all of that kind of initial ick
Yes.
that we
It
experience.
is ick. It's so much discomfort, right? And that's it's so much discomfort. Well, actually, for me, it all started even prior to building my business. I was in my kind of previous life, let's just say. I was in a corporate, I was in investment banking, and for a very long time. And it was ultimately my own journey through my own healing. I mean, that sounds quite cliche, but it really was, working through my own. And I was walking around with so much trauma. I had absolutely no idea. And walking around with trauma, I was completely dissociated, or dissociation, just, or for other people, like disconnected from from myself, from who I was, of course, but also from my body. I was kind of living on autopilot, really
Yep.
living from that freeze response. And and then it was really kind of, I always talk about it like this. I was asleep, I was asleep most of
Mhm.
my life. And then it's when I really started to wake up, what is it that I actually want? What is it I actually want to create for my life? And it was like the first time that I actually even asked myself those questions, when you're driven by your subconscious and by
Mhm.
the trauma that's living in your nervous system and your body, you're just living in survival. And it was like that first step to stepping out of survival is, what do I actually want? And that's where eventually I left I left my old job, and I wanted to create impact. I wanted to create change. And that's where I started. I wanted to create my business.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I'd done quite a lot of work prior to that. Like, what really drives me in the work that I do now is that I've studied it deeply. I've studied the brain, I've studied trauma, nervous system, everything to do with mindset or anything that you want, in the subconscious, deeply, and really understanding what's most efficient and what isn't, because I've just had to navigate it through it. I didn't
Mhm.
have, or at least I wasn't aware of any kind of solution back, more than 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And that really is what drives me today. So yes, so I'm at this point where I'm creating my business, and then of course, like, it's like the boogeyman came right out from underneath me. I was like,
Yes.
where is this shit coming from? I'm like, I thought I dealt with this perfectionism. I thought I dealt with all of this, and it was
Mhm.
interesting because I'm the mother of two young girls as well. So it was like motherhood shined this huge spotlight
Yes.
on all of the shit that I had, it's
Yep.
like those inner layers I hadn't addressed. And then the business, and the business concurrently, really, because it really happened more or less together, you know,
Mhm.
then was again another huge spotlight, and on all the things and all the wounds that were not, all the layers that I hadn't addressed. And it's when I really started through my work and through my own processes, and the way that, I work with trauma resolution, and rewiring the subconscious, because they have to come together, that I started stripping away those layers,
Mhm.
and of course having someone to hold space for me as well, to do
Right.
that was very important as well. And investing in myself has always been at the number one of my, top priority.
Mhm.
And that's where I really started to uh, step into who I really was. And then from there, like, the content writing comes with ease, and you going out and the outreach, and really messaging the people that you want to work with, and not, being unattached to the outcome, and without
Right.
that fear of rejection, and without everything needing to be perfect, and that messy action. And I'm all about experimenting now in my business. That's where I am. Like it's all an experiment, and it's all like, there's no such thing as failure. I don't do the, like, best worst or whatever it is,
Right.
better
Yeah.
outcome scenario. Like, let's just try it out and let's have fun with it, and let's bring in the ease, and let's bring in the fun.
Yeah.
And that's where I've seen my biggest success, and where my income, like, just shot in a matter of months, and up to levels I never could have even envisioned for
Mm.
myself. And so all of that stuff, everything that you're carrying in your nervous system, in your subconscious, that's like the bigger layer. And then underlying that is your relationship with money. And so when I really peeled away those other layers, that's where my relationship with money as well started to really transform.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's really how I, how I experienced the beginning of my business, kind of, a couple years on, because my business has evolved a lot since then. But
Sure.
yeah, it shines a light on all that stuff. And unless we actually address it, then we're just going to keep shooting ourselves in the foot, right? It's
Right.
like, it's ultimately, strategy is so important, and I'm all for strategy, but it's like the person you're being, the person you're showing up every day. Does it feel hard? Does it feel, are you showing up with these doubts and fears, and they're part of being human, yes, but we can resolve them. We can rewire them. You can
Mhm.
step into that fearlessness, and create that ultimate freedom. Like, for me, freedom encompasses, and wealth and abundance encompasses the financial, yes, but ultimately it's much more than that. It's the emotional freedom, it's the energetic freedom, it's the joy that you want to bring every single day.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I have goosebumps. I love that. Right. And I feel like, There, you talked about like experimenting and play, and I can't begin to tell you, I think I tell every client of mine, do more play, play more, like get curious, act not necessarily like a little kid, but embody that curiosity of a kid. I have little kids. And after we had our daughter, she'll be 7 this year. After we had her, I really realized like, oh wow, especially when she started to play, right? When she started to walk, when she started to get really curious and explore. I was watching her one day, like just play, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I realized like in that moment, like how much I had been just like against a brick wall with my brand new coaching business at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness, what if I just played? Right? Like, what if I brought in that element of play? And I've owned businesses since 2007, right? So, like, the being in business is nothing like earth-shatteringly new to me, but my other businesses were brick and mortar. So, in person, right? Like, local, immersed in the community, and then to step into the online world, like, at the time, my coach was like, it'll be so easy. Don't worry, just go post. And I was like, yay, it'll be easy, go post. And then I was like, it's not quite that easy. It's not quite, right? And you're right.
Yeah.
All of that ick came back up for me. And I had also just had a baby. So, like, all of that stuff, right? And working through that, navigating through that. And then to realize one day, I wonder what it would be like to play. And
Yeah.
like, what if this could be fun? What if this is fun? And asking those questions to light, like, I get goosebumps just thinking about that. And I love that. And I encourage all my clients to do that too.
Yeah. And it's interesting the inquiry of what doesn't feel fun right now? What do
Yeah.
I not enjoy right now?
Yes.
And then usually that leads to, those answers are a lot of those beliefs, the stories from our subconscious of I'm doing this because I need to do this because that's what's going to make me successful or because I think I should. Every time there's a should,
Yeah.
that there's more, yeah, there's exploration, and there's usually underlying it some kind of locked up emotion or some kind of trauma and some kind of something that's being triggered inside of you. So yeah, what doesn't feel fun right now? What doesn't feel fun right now? And
Right.
what doesn't feel good? And that's usually a good way to move into exploring what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally. So I'm curious about, so I help a lot of clients with lead generation and having conversations. And I'm sure with your clients, you work on some of those blocks too. So I'm curious, can you give any like either examples or things that you've done, and it could be in your own business to just generate more leads and have it feel fun. I'm hearing a lot of people say lead generation is so boring. And I'm like, I don't know. I think conversations are pretty fun. So like I don't think it's boring, but like some people do. So I'm curious, like what are some fun things you add in for yourself as you're generating leads?
Yeah. For me, it starts with like, who do I really want to work with? Who do I really want to work with? And it's, well, of course, lead generation, it starts with your content, right? Like
Yep.
who you're being in your content. I tell my clients, and I think I need to post this or I should post this. It's like, what is in your heart to share?
Yeah.
Show them who you are. And then of course, and there's like a fear of judgment. And that's where we go into a lot of those deep layers, right? Because we're not really sharing from what we want to share or who we are because we think it's not good enough. Or we don't think I don't know, there's loads of different triggers or anything there. It's it starts with showing up as and showing who it is that you are,
Hmm.
and why you want to share. Because again, that fun, it comes from like I get excited about sharing, like, this feels good. I'm gonna share this with you guys right now because
Right.
it's really good. And then it's and then one of the biggest, I said this earlier, but one of the biggest things I learned in my business is like outreach. Like go and reach out,
Hmm.
build those relationships with, not from like, oh, I need to be in contact with it, but like, we are humans and we need that connection. And I really love that. I stopped writing messages, DMs.
Hmm.
I went straight into voice notes. I want to hear their voice. I want them to
Yeah.
hear my voice. It's real connection and real relationships. And then, of course, what are the blocks around there? And because there's going to be a lot of block around there, around sharing your voice, really building those relationships again from a place of non-attachment. That's
Mm-hmm.
really how I help I help support my clients is, how do we create that non-attachment? And the
Mm-hmm.
non-attachment, it comes, yeah, going through and resolving a lot of the trauma.
Yep.
And what I mean by the trauma is all the stories that, the stories that you're telling yourself, like subconsciously, you don't realize you're saying them.
Right.
And yeah, and then going out and messaging those people like, I have a great free offer right now, and I think that you're going to absolutely love it. And again, it comes from, if you're leading from I should, you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
get excited about it. Like, how can you really get excited about what you're offering? And it's also looking at your offers. Like, if that doesn't feel good, then we need to revamp your whole offering and into something that feels exciting. So
Right.
it's like content offers. What are you offering? Whether it's free or paid spaces or paid containers, whatever it is. Also simple, like keep it simple, simplify it, and then yeah, go out and build those relationships in a way that feels good, that and not in a way that's just feels heavy to you. Like, I need to do this to get the
Right.
leads. That will come across. So we need to strip back what how you can actually create, and that it will be different for everyone, but how you can actually build those relationships and create those connections from a place that actually feels good, from a place that
Mm-hmm.
actually feels good, and where you can get really excited. Because you want to come from this place of like, I'm just so excited about sharing this with you because I know, and it comes back to certainty. Certainty is another one here. It's
Yep.
like, I know that this person, it's just going to change their life, whether it's free
Mm-hmm.
offer or a paid offer, whatever. I know it's going to change their life, and so I really want to share it with them. And I really, and it goes back to the non-attachment. Like, go out and go get the no's. It's
Right.
like, get it as many no's as you can. Like,
Yeah.
that is, and I say that to my clients, like, go and get as many no's as you can, and you'll see,
Mm-hmm.
like, some of those no's will actually not be no's, and some of them will be.
Right.
And it really isn't about whether it's a no, it's a yes. It's really about putting yourself out there and sharing from that place of play, of excitement, of what feels really good, really, really good for you.
Right. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love all of this because that's also I tell my clients a lot of the same thing, right? Where like what does feel good? Does it feel good to go out in person and talk to your dentist? Does it feel good to be on Facebook? Does it feel good to be on Instagram? Like where does this feel good and sharing, right? Not being afraid of sharing your offers. I see a lot of people struggling there, right? Where they're like, oh, but if I tell them my offer, like they're probably going to tell me no. And I'm like, but what if they tell you yes? What if
Yeah.
they hear your excitement and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what she's got, but I need some of that. What if that's the case, right? If you tell yourself it's hard, it's going to be hard. And if you get really excited and think, oh my gosh, I have to share this with people. I don't care what they tell me back. Like, oh, I have this amazing thing. Chances are
Mhm.
that amazing thing is going to be so much more magnetic.
Yeah.
And people are going to hear that in your voice. They're going to like, it's going to come across. Um, I find it interesting because some people I get messages all the time from people. And
Mhm.
some of the new people just that have started following me, they've sent me messages and they've said, "Are you always this like excited about stuff?" And I'm like, "Yes. I am so excited about things that some people find boring because this can literally shift your whole business. One conversation can shift your entire minute, day, hour, business, lifetime. Like that thing is so powerful. And like, why wouldn't you want to share about that?"
Yeah, yeah. And one thing, going back to like, it feels good. Now, some people will interpret this as like, if this if this feels uncomfortable, like this doesn't feel good and it feels uncomfortable. Like,
Mhm.
there's a really important distinction there. If
Yes.
there will be a lot of discomfort,
Yep.
especially when you're starting out, especially in wherever you are, really, at whichever point you are in your business. I always say, like, there's always layers to uncover at every level of expansion, and that's why I work
Mhm.
with people from at any part of any stage of their business. And it's like, not is it uncomfortable, then we shouldn't do it. Actually, is it uncomfortable, that is where we go, and we create some magic, and we resolve it. We rewire subconscious, and we resolve the trauma that's underlying this discomfort. So I wanted to make that clear distinction, because some people will say, does that feel good? What they'll feel or hear is that feels comfortable. And
Right.
so, yeah, it was important to make that distinction. If it feels uncomfortable, let's actually go in and really strip away those layers. And then if at the end, actually, this doesn't feel good, then
Right.
we move into another path. But yeah, and something I wanted to add to that is, really what I'm experiencing as well as personally in my own business is, and it ties to my work, is the capacity that we have in our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I didn't have much capacity. I created this ease from the capacity that I had, and I created this ease. And so for me, like, I didn't, I stepped away from doing kind of long challenges, or I stepped away from like really big um um like time consuming stuff, or because it didn't feel good. What felt good to me was doing like a 60 to 90 minute masterclass, really giving my all and giving value and giving from that place. And I was able to give from that place, but that's what I had the capacity to do. And now I see that, like, the more that you do this work, this nervous system and subconscious work, we're creating capacity. And now, I've been sharing this on my content. I have capacity for more now. And so as the play is coming through, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I have the capacity to do this. I'm offering a new experience that I'm going to be announcing soon. That's going to be, a 3-day experience. And it's like, what do you have the capacity for? And we need to work within that and help, and at the same time, help create that capacity. So we do it both concurrently. We don't just do this work and wait, and then we
Right.
move into it. We work through the capacity that we have right now.
Yep.
And most people, it's full. For most people, there is literally no capacity. And that's why it feels hard all the time. And it feels like
Mm-hmm.
they can't find joy. And so we want to create that capacity. And that might mean slowing down, and is vital. Slowing down is vital, and create that
Right.
capacity, move within your capacity. And then from there, like, it's just gonna explode beyond, beyond anything you can imagine. And I say this because, I just ran my retreat. It's a 3-night 4-day retreat. It's in Menorca. And it came up there, as it comes up with every one of my clients. It's like, I asked them, what would the version of you say even 1 year ago, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, say about the version of you now? And every single time it's, I'm in disbelief. Like,
Yeah.
they wouldn't believe me if I told them that I'm where I am, in my identity, who I am, how I'm showing up, all of the rest of it is, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed you. It's not like a scenario that I could even envision. And that's
Right.
why, I'm very much, I think visions are really important, and really mapping out not mapping out, but really grounding in what we want and what we want to create. But actually, when we do this work, it opens up a perspective that's beyond our line of vision,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, our initial line of vision. So I wanted to
Yep.
share that. Really, really.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. And I think, yeah, when you first start doing really any sort of work, I feel like. So over the years, right, I've owned 3 different businesses, and every time I've started that new business venture, there's been this period where it's kind of feels like, oh my gosh, I can't take one more thing. This feels hard. But then you're right, sitting in that vision and sitting in that really, I would call it like in that slowness of like, I need to take this moment by moment right now and work on the expansion and work on, okay, I did this thing yesterday. Maybe I do 2 things today. Maybe tomorrow is 3, right? So that gradual growth of bringing more in and just creating more room. I think that's so, so awesome.
Yeah, and what I hear from the words, what came up for me was trust. And
Mm,
at
hmm.
the foundation of this, the core of this is this ability to trust.
Yep.
And I say with everyone again, it goes back to, it's not about this month or next month. It's about playing the long game and what you want to create in the long game.
Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious is not going to like that. Your
Right.
nervous system, your trauma is not
Yes.
going to like that. They're going to be like, you're not really successful right now because you're not making X amount of money, or you're not, but we want to make, it's the long game. and
Hmm.
and And it's that kind of mindset, and where we can really lean into that trust. And again, trust, deep self-trust, can really only come from, the resolution of the trauma, because it's that trauma that disconnects us from ourselves, from being able to truly trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And so when we can lean into that trust and be like, I'm playing the long game here. I'm playing the long game here. This isn't a sprint. I'm not trying to sprint to crash eventually, because that's what tends to happen.
Hmm.
I'm here for the long haul. I'm here for sustainability. I'm here for ease. And it doesn't mean like sitting back and and being like it's all going to come to me. That's what it's a misconception, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm a manifestor, I'm going to just sit back and everything's going to come to me. No, it's like but it's taking action from a place of ease, again going back to what we were saying before, from a place of play, of what feels good.
Hmm.
And creating that capacity in the nervous system to be able to, to increase that little by little. And again, looking at it, it's the long game, and how can I move more into trust right now.
Yeah.
um yeah, so that's kind of what came up for me when you were saying that, is really that word
Yeah.
trust.
Absolutely. I would absolutely say that trust is so important. And it really starts with ourselves, right? Like trusting yourself. That is the most important trust relationship that you can have. And I mean, really, I could talk all day about that, right? Because trusting yourself really can bring in the ease in those really hard moments where your brain is like, hey, hi, hello, you're not as quote unquote successful as you thought you would be, or, whatever thoughts the brain serves up, knowing that, you have this deep trust in yourself, that you can ground into that you can sit back and go, you know what, that is a thought. I am doing this work. I am reaching out. I am, all the things, and I am at peace, right? Trust and peace are definitely big things for myself. And that's also something that, bringing that, helping a client come down from that chaotic, like, oh my gosh, here's all the thing. And like, just, okay, we're going to take a breath. Let's recenter and let's just look at this and see what is next, like what feels good to be the next thing, instead of, well, I have a 3 mile long to-do list and I can't get it all done. And, you know, just
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, and that trust piece, or that kind of knowing, it comes together with that certainty. Like, I know what's coming. I know it's
Right.
coming.
Yeah.
It's like I'm certain that this is meant to be something big and bigger. It's meant to be to create this really big impact. And yeah, when you move from that place, and from day one, from day dot, without all the evidence, right? Without, and I always say it's like the biggest measure of eventually business growth and business success is our ability to maintain that certainty, to maintain that self-trust and that self-belief
Yep.
when there is no evidence. Because
Right.
it's gonna dip, and it's gonna go, the income is gonna dip, it's gonna go up and down, and it's in those moments, those dips, that's the greatest predictor really of business growth, is your ability to really sit in that certainty and sit in that self-belief and self-trust in those income dips and those lower
Yeah.
lower lower income months. And
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a ton about business, and I absolutely love talking about business, but I'm curious, what are some of your go-to methods for recharging, or not necessarily taking a step back, but like having those periods of rest where you close the laptop, turn off the notifications, and really disconnect from your business? What are some things that you do to recharge yourself?
Yeah, and this comes into a big part of the ease and the freedom. And I wrote about this recently in my content. It's just, what does freedom actually look like to me?
Mhm.
And yes, when I'm in my business, it's like moving through ease and taking action from effortlessly, and making money effortlessly, and all these things. And it's also the ease that I find when I close my laptop, and I am living my life or navigating my way through my business in the way that aligns with the life that I want and the freedom that I want to feel every day. And that means I want to be picking up my children every single day. I
Mm-hmm.
want to spend time with them and be present with them every single day. I want to take some time to myself, especially as a mother as well,
Right.
all the time. That's really important. So the way I've also structured, it's with the work that I do, I hold a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
And, something that I also work with, whether it's coaches, I'm going to be um, kind of uh, what's the word? I'm going to be putting out like a certification to help train up coaches as well soon. And one of the things that I help my clients is, how do you manage that energy?
Yeah.
And what feels good for you? What feels good to me? What will bring in that ease and that freedom for me will be different for you. Maybe for me, it's I want to spend time with my children, my family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to regret in a few years' time thinking I wish I was there every single day with them. I wish I was there at this event or whatever it is. And so the way I've structured it is I take time off every 6 weeks. I take the whole of the summer off. And of course, there's noise everywhere being like, that will tell you
Right.
that your business is not going to grow that way, or,
Right.
or right. Or like
Yes.
you're setting yourself up for failure if you do that. And I am proof that it's not. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It's really
Mm-hmm.
how I've generated, my income, and it's how my business has grown so expansively, and I don't want to say quickly, because I'm all about sustainability. It's about so expansively and sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating the foundations of something for long term,
Right.
and this is what feels good for me. And so, yeah, for me, it's that it's looking after myself, taking care of myself. I don't start my day before a certain time in the morning. I drop my kids off, and then it's like all about me. I'm not trying to force some kind of high vibe,
Right.
energy and all stuff that you're still in that place of pushing, like, oh, I need to be this way, I should be this way. No, it's just time with myself, and that will maybe look like literally 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
or that will be longer. It'll be maybe like I go for a run, and then I check in with myself. But yeah, it's the what I want to highlight mostly is your ability to sit with your body and sit
Yeah.
with yourself and with what your body is telling you. Because if whether you're in your business or outside of your business, it's just as important. When you're in your business, your body's going to tell you what feels good. Your body's going to tell you, actually, I don't want to be, we're going to do a little bit less today. Or,
Mm-hmm.
or not necessarily less, but we're going to like just show up as we are and see what comes, right?
Yeah.
And see what comes. And there's been so many times where like, I'm giving myself permission to just do much less today. And then in the end, I was just hugely productive, because I'm just like, I'm just showing up as I am. And at
Right.
the same time, there's been moments where like, I'm gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna just show up as I am and just take things slow. And that's exactly what it's been. I've taken the slow. And then when my body feels like it has that capacity, it feels like it wants to go. And then I'm like super productive. I'm like boom, 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 boom. There's no such thing in my I always say this in my world, there's no such thing as procrastination, because the
Right.
procrastination, again, it's that free state response. It's like it's something deeper, and it's like on that under layer of like, you should be doing this, you
Mm-hmm.
know this feels really uncomfortable to do, or this feels hard to do, or maybe there's like a fear of rejection, like, oh, I don't want to do this because then, or maybe if it's not good enough, like that's those are the underlayers of procrastination. When we
Right.
work through all of those, you're just going to show up as you are. You're going to be productive as fuck. You're going to be restful as
Right.
uh, hopefully we can swear on this
Oh,
podcast, otherwise
totally.
we're
Yeah.
gonna or we're gonna be restful as fuck, like it's yeah, that's what I'm all about, is really checking in
Mm-hmm.
every day. And the more you do this work and the more embodied you are, the less trauma, or unresolved trauma is sitting in your nervous system. And then it comes with ease, because we were born, you see I'm sure you do as well, like I see my kids, you don't need to tell them when they're, when to rest. You don't need to tell them
Right.
like this is time to do this, or they do it naturally. It's like we're
Mm-hmm.
born to know what it is that we need, and to go and and meet our needs. And so the more that we strip all that away, you are going to meet your needs. You're going to create that capacity to be productive, to go and get those leads and get those sales, and it's going to feel effortless, because it's literally what you were made to do. You were made to move when you know, when your body has that, when you are made to rest, when your body needs rest. And it's really about honoring it. And that's at the root of it, is really checking in with what do I need? What does my body need?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. And I think, you know, for those who do have kids, I think kids are such a great example of like they are going to do what their body is asking them to do, right? If they have extra energy, they're going to want to be wild and crazy and they're going to want to run around and they're going to want to go out and do the things. And if they need to rest, they will probably rest. At least, I mean, I know my kids do, right? There are times where I can just tell like their level of energy is just, oh, yep, today is just one of those, like, let's just take it easy. We'll see what happens. And, and same thing like when they're hungry. When they're hungry, they want to eat. And as adults, we've been so fine-tuned into this is breakfast, this is lunch, this is dinner, like so that, for me, one of the best things about having kids was again coming back to that like that childlike play, that curiosity, and really like, oh my gosh, they listen to their body
Mm.
so much better than I do, and I thought I owned a yoga studio for quite a while. So like for me, I thought I knew my body, but really,
Yeah.
and I do know my body, but also I don't always listen to the cues. And right, having kids really taught me how to listen to like, oh, my body is actually telling me this today.
And what's having us not listen to those cues, again, it comes
Right.
back to, and it's a protectiveness. And I always say this, like, I am grateful for all the ways that my body helped me survive.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
went into survival. I literally was numb. I couldn't feel anything, and that's the
Hmm.
case sometimes for quite a few of my clients. And wait, I lost my train of thought on this. Where did I start off with this? What was I saying? Give me a moment, just one second. Never mind. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Never mind. It'll come back. It always does.
It always does.
It always, it'll come back. It'll come back.
That's
What
okay.
were you saying? What were you saying? I'm just wondering what you, because I felt like it was like a really important part.
So I was talking about how just kids really give us that like glimpse back into like what it is our bodies are wanting, and how we've, like really been conditioned to want to do things at certain, especially if you've worked in corporate. I did. And that was like, oh, I can only eat lunch at 12 o'clock noon from, right. And like, I have to be hungry at these times. But really
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
learning how to feel into that.
Yes. So it just came back. So I was saying like your ability to kind of listen to those cues is really, is as a result of a lot of those survival mechanisms and those coping mechanisms. This is a result of all of the stuff that's sitting in your subconscious that's there
Hmm.
again to protect you, and it was there to serve you at some point. But at some point, we no longer need it. We no
Right.
longer, it helped me survive at one point, and I'm grateful for that. But
Yep.
it's something we no longer need. Our ability to listen to our cues is determined by how much of that is, because it's running 95% of our day is run by our subconscious programming. It's all the stuff that you can't see about yourself. It's all those beliefs of, of I'm only worthy if I am a success, or if I earn a certain amount of money, and that's where a relationship with money comes in. I'm only
Hmm.
worthy, for a lot of women, if I'm a certain size, I'm only worthy of this. And so therefore, we may hear some cues, but we won't necessarily honor them, because that that is so much stronger. That voice is so much stronger. That subconscious voice, again, it's not conscious, it's
Right.
subconscious. It's telling you, actually, no, instead of resting right now, and again, all happening subconsciously, you need to be doing this, because you're gonna feel like you're worthy finally. You're gonna feel like that you're loved finally, or that you're good, that you're good, or that you're enough.
Hmm.
But when we strip that away, and that's why that I'm so passionate about my work, is that it goes way beyond mindset, because what's happening, it's outside of our conscious awareness. It's happening in our subconscious, in our nervous system. So we can't think our way or, we can't think our way or intellectualize our way to changing that mindset or changing those thoughts. We need to work through it on a whole bodily level. And that's where my work comes in, so that we can actually rewire that programming and it no longer runs the show. It no longer runs the show. I got there in the end.
I love it. That's so amazing. Okay, so this is my last question, probably my favorite. For anyone who's listened before, you know exactly what I'm going to ask. So if you were a kitchen gadget or utensil, what would you be and why?
If I were a kitchen gadget or utensil?
Yep.
So interesting. That is completely new to me. Give me a second.
Really, whatever pops into your brain first, I find is usually the best answer.
Well, what popped into my brain, I don't know if it's because that's what we ate yesterday, but it's the, I don't know what it's called, but the one to pick up the spaghetti.
Oh, yeah, like the tongs?
No, well, no, I have this thing where it has like these, it's like this, it has these kind of and it just picks up the spaghetti from there and yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what that's called, but
I don't know what that's called either. But I don't know. I feel like there's something deeper in that. Maybe it's
right.
where it's like, it's really all those layers. I feel like it's like all of that, all of like the spaghetti represents like it's not just we tend to look at ourselves. It's really getting into the nitty gritty and getting into all of that stuff where that's like a representation of spaghetti. That's maybe it. Well, anyway, that's what came to me. That's what came to me intuitively.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that's perfect. And I think that's so true, right? Being able to pick up the chaos and rearrange it, right? Like, and to reform it into a nice, neat little ball. There's still going to be chaos in there, but like, like to be able to place it, unplate it, and have this yeah, I love that. I love that.
There's so many layers to it. A lot of people want to find an answer, and eventually with my work, they'll find, quote unquote answers, but it's not ultimately about that. It's just, all these things that form the way that you're being triggered in that moment, the way that you're thinking in that moment, consciously or unconsciously, and really getting into the real stuff, so you can really come out the other side. And again, it's not about a destination, but really, one thing that I believe, a lot of people will say like the work is ongoing, and sure, of course, like we spoke about before, there's work to be done at every expansion level, every level, but we don't need to be rehashing the stuff again and again, the same stuff again and again. When we work with the nervous system, the subconscious, and the brain together in the way that I do in my work, we can actually rewire that programming. I'm no longer led by a lot of the stuff or the shit that used to literally run my life subconsciously. We can actually rewire it completely. And that's where that disbelief comes from. When my clients say like, I'm so stunned. And one of my clients was like, oh my gosh, Nicole, you actually can rewire the brain. And it's like, yes, you can. And it happens organically. We don't need to be, an example is what she was saying that in the context of her putting some boundaries. And we haven't even talked about boundaries. When we actually resolved a lot of the stuff, then actually, she came from a place of, I'm good enough, I'm worthy. And then we put those, we set those boundaries with ease. And again, it's like, it happens organically. It all happens organically, and it becomes second nature, because that's who you always were. You were never all those things, constantly doubting yourself, constantly being perfect. You were never any of those things. So when we strip that back, you return to who you always were. And then that happens organically with ease.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. So I will put all of your links below, but feel free to share what is the best way for people to connect with you.
You can connect either. I'm on Instagram, Nicole Rose Coaching. You'll still have the link down there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Email me any way that you prefer. Then reach out, and whether you have a question, whether you are curious about anything, I'm here, and I'd love to support you in any way that I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on today. This was such an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Maggie.
Wow. What a great interview. Thank you so much for showing up here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast Again, my name is Maggie. I'm so excited to connect with you. You can find all of the information, all of the links below in the show notes for today's interview. And I hope you have the best day ever.